When these guys talk about freedom, what they mean, the freedom to be in your exam room, the freedom to be in your bedroom, the freedom to tell you what to read, the freedom to dictate things in your life that we all know is none of their damn business to be in.
We've got an opportunity to vote for tax cuts for working families. We've got an opportunity to secure that southern border. We've got an opportunity to give us a president in the White House who can actually do the job.
We have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. We're done with that. We're done.
And this election is a choice between whether you will have 4 more years of incompetence and failure, or whether we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country.
The two campaigns looking to rally their voters today, with former President Trump rousing fans in Virginia. His vice presidential nominee, Senator J.D. Vance, headlines back-to-back rallies in Arizona. Trump campaign senior advisor Danielle Alvarez joins us now. Danielle, the Hispanic vote traditionally has gone Democrat, primarily Democrat, but there are signs this year that that is changing. Why?
Well, I think that Hispanic voters, my community, I'm a Hispanic American woman, really care about basic issues, bringing down the cost of groceries, gas, rent, really care about securing the border, really care about family issues. You know, I think as a young mom about sending my kids to school and what Democrats are trying to teach them in the classroom, indoctrinate them with the classroom. So I think it's a lot of very core and basic issues that Republicans and President Trump are leading on that is causing Hispanics to turn their backs on the Democrat Party, who has taken them for granted for so long, and turn towards President Trump. Let's remember that under President Trump's 4 years in the White House, my community had the lowest unemployment rate, had the most money in their pockets, the highest home ownership rate, and we're ready to return to that prosperity and success.
Let's take a look at the situation in a couple of the western states. I think we have Arizona up first. Arizona was a pivotal state the last election. Right now, Donald Trump in this voter poll from of Arizona likely voters, he's up by 11 points in Arizona. Is that in part because of the change in Hispanic vote, do you think, or is it something else?
I think that's absolutely right. I believe that Hispanics are turning towards President Trump, and specifically in a state like Arizona, where you're not only dealing with inflation, but you are on the front lines of Kamala Harris's border crisis, where you're seeing migrant crime rise, where you're seeing fentanyl pour in, where you're seeing tens of millions of illegal immigrants cross the border. I think that that is why you're seeing President Trump surge in Arizona. And as we're looking at vote by mail and early voting data in Arizona, we see that Republicans are ahead and that President Trump is ahead. And I think that it's simply because our nation wants to return to the prosperity, strength, and success that we had under President Trump's leadership and in his time in the White House, and turn the page from Kamala Harris's failures of the last 3.5 years. Another
western state where the Latino vote is significant, Nevada. And in Nevada, again, a pretty big lead there for the former president, 50% to 41% for Kamala Harris. The same mathematics going on here, do you think?
I think that that's exactly right. Nevada is another state that we know, based on vote returns and vote by mail and early voting, that Republicans have a lead. And again, I think it goes back to those common sense issues. President Trump, I always say, is this campaign's secret weapon, not only because of the 4 years of success that he had when he was leading our nation, but because of the promises that he's making. And the closing argument is very simple. Kamala Harris broke it, and President Trump will fix it. And I think that Kamala Harris has really struggled in her closing arguments. All she's been able to say is, well, I'm not him. The problem is that our nation wants to return to President Trump. They want to return to that success and that prosperity. And we're seeing it in those Western states like Arizona and Nevada, again, in that early voting and vote by mail data. We're also seeing it in voter registrations. We know that the team that President Trump has put together has been able to make Republican voter registration gains in every single battleground state. So we are going into this election, into Tuesday's election, with significant advantages, not only in voter registration, changing the makeup of the electorate, having a lot of new Republican voter registrants, but also, again, in that vote by mail and early voting data that we're seeing.
Very quickly, Kamala Harris has said border enforcement, southern border enforcement is racist. As a Hispanic woman, how do you see it?
I think that that's ridiculous, and I think that what you see in polling after polling is that Hispanic voters support President Trump in wanting to secure the border. Again, oftentimes our communities are those alongside the border, whether it's in Texas or in Arizona or New Mexico, wherever it may be. We are often on the front lines of those border crises. I'd also say, as a Hispanic, that having an open border is inhumane to those who are crossing the border. And we know that we have seen videos of children being trafficked by cartels. We know that there is about 325,000 missing children in this country right now, which is an absolute failure of Kamala Harris. We've seen the videos of children being, again, dumped over that border wall. We've heard the stories of women being raped and brutally abused. We have seen individuals drowning in the Rio Grande. So there is nothing humane about an open border, not for those who are, again, being taken advantage of by the cartels, who are the only ones profiting off of Kamala Harris's failures, but certainly not for American citizens who, again, are seeing a rise in fentanyl pouring into our country, a rise in migrant crime, and again, a rise in those missing children. We know that those who are profiting are the cartel, who are labor trafficking, sex trafficking individuals across that open border. And it's a shame on Kamala Harris.
Danielle Alvarez, a senior advisor to the Trump campaign. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.